Hey, comm students, Dr. Sloan here. I realize that we are having a bit of a frantic start to our COMM3000 Communication Theory course. And so I have made some adjustments to our first week and its assignments to kind of reduce your stress as we enter into this grueling theory course. So I'm going to use this video to introduce myself and introduce the course, and especially to kind of talk you through some of this Module 1 content. So first and foremost, hi, for any of you that I haven't got to meet yet, I am Dr. Alyssa Sloan, and I will be your professor for this course. I am also one of the primary teaching professors in the communication program here at King University because I am the program coordinator. So when you have questions about any of the courses or adjunct instructors that you have, then please shoot me an email because I'm the person that can answer those questions. As for communication theory, this is going to be a hard course, but in a good way. I find that students are more intimidated by this course because the name includes the word theory. But if you know that theory is just something that explains, predicts, or controls our world, then theory is no longer scary. So basically, all theories are developed because their theorist is trying to explain the world in which we live, or a theorist is trying to predict how when this action happens, this outcome occurs. Or it's trying to control, which is a bit more complex. But most of the theories that we'll read in this course are theories that are trying to explain or predict the worlds that we live in. And so theory is not scary. In fact, theory can be really fun because it helps us make sense of our world and our relationships and our communication. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next 5 weeks, is we're going to be looking at theories that explain or predict our communication, our relationships, our experiences. So that's a bit of an introduction to this course. Now let's jump in and talk about this first module. I realize that you have not had access to Blackboard. You have not had access to Blackboard. I have not had access to Blackboard, so I understand the stress has been rising in your bones. So to that end, I have reduced the workload for Module 1 because I know some of you are still finishing up your COMM3000 organizational communication assignments, and you're trying to get that material into Whitney Tipton, and I believe she's going to give you until end of day today to make up for not having access for a full day on Sunday. So I know that some of you are still working on a previous course. For those of you who wrapped up your Org Comm content, then go ahead and jump right into this week's assignments for my course. For those of you who are finishing up Org Comm content, you might want to just get going tomorrow morning so that you have most of the week to finish up the assignments that you'll need to complete for me. So let's talk about how I've adjusted your first week. I've posted an announcement here to the main course page that says all of the things that were assigned in terms of chapters are still assigned for week 1. But your longest or most difficult assignment was to create an audio-visual explanation of either chapter 19 or chapter 20. And instead of that assignment, all you have to do is write a quick explanation of 3 things that you learned in either chapter 19 or 20. And so instead of preparing this audio-visual display of your new knowledge, you can quickly summarize that material in just 3 takeaways. So definitely a huge reduction in your workload this week. And I'm going to flip over to our Module 1 page. Before I do, though, we're going to look at the Learning Modules homepage. So you would click here. I've already got it preloaded. So this is what our course homepage looks like. To get access to this course, you needed to complete the course expectations agreement. This is an overview of the assignments that you'll need to complete this week, except for in Module 1, this this is not a check mark anymore because you do not have to complete an audio-visual explanation. Instead, you're going to write a short 3 things that were important takeaways for you from chapter 19 or 20. I'm going to get to that. So this content is the only thing that has changed in this chart. This folder, Useful COMM Documents, is useful to you all the time as you're writing papers in this course, completing memos in another course, even organizing your ideas for the future audiovisual explanations. That organization of papers and speeches work the same. So some of the content here is useful. Of course, you will complete a senior portfolio and complete what's known as the OAK exam in your last semester. And in this folder, you can also read about those upcoming requirements so that you're preparing and saving material that you'll need for those final things. We're going to focus the rest of our time here in Module 1. And again, I've kind of pre-clicked into that. So this is your Module 1. And it should be pretty straightforward. This is an overview of your assignments or your responsibilities for this week. You're going to read 4 chapters here in Module 1. And the first 2 are pretty straightforward. They're just introductory chapters so that you understand communication theory before we start reading a bunch of the theories. And also in week 1, we're going to read 2 organizational communication theories, and that'll be it. I know that you just took organizational communication, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on those theories, but we are going to read 2 in our class. So that's kind of a good transition from what you've been studying in organizational communication for those of you who are wrapping up that course. So you'll read those 4 chapters, and there's a note to any student that has a newer edition than the 6th, which is the book that was required. That's okay if you have a newer edition. You'll just need to access some of these PDFs since the newer editions do not have all of the chapters that are assigned in this class. This part is also especially useful. You're going to write an introduction in an introductory post about yourself to a discussion board. Oh, where is that posted? Is it in here? Okay, so I found it. You're going to post here to I'm in the main learning modules page, and you'll post an introduction about yourself here. And then I really encourage you to go and meet a classmate or two, say, it's good to see you in class again, or welcome to the program, or we haven't met yet, but I'm Alyssa, so just greet one another so you kind of know who you're taking class with. And you'll get points for participating in the introduction board, so be sure to do so. Okay. So I was right here. So you're going to post to the introduction board. You'll also write a journal entry that summarizes what you've learned in chapters 1 and 2. So 1 and 2, again, are introductory chapters. So you're going to tell me some of the introductory information you've learned. And then instead of creating an audio-visual explanation, which I often will refer to in future weeks as a screencast, instead of doing that assignment, this has been updated, you're going to write a brief paragraph that tells me about 3 takeaways that you learned from chapter 19 or 20. So this week you have 2 what I'll kind of call specialized chapters. Again, 1 and 2 are introductory chapters, and 19 and 20 are about organizational communication theories. So you basically have 2 theory chapters this week. 1 theory chapter you are going to write 3 takeaways for. Another theory chapter you are going to find a journal article, read that article, and then complete an annotation form about that article. So basically you're going to be describing how researchers use theory and apply it in the world. So we're not just going to study theory, but we're going to understand how theory informs more theory or best practices or research findings. So you'll read 2 chapters and you'll complete 2 assignments, but you will not complete 2 assignments on the same chapter. In other words, there's no double dipping. So do one thing for chapter 19 and do another thing for chapter 20, but it's your choice what assignment you'll complete for each chapter. Again, the rest of this module content should be really straightforward. The pages of what you need to read and a picture of the textbook you should have bought are here. Some key terms. This is not required viewing, is not going to show up on your screen because I've omitted it for week 1 since you don't have to learn how to do audiovisual screencasts for week 1. These have some interesting resources for you if you need, or if you just want to learn more or hear a different version of an explanation for content in any of the chapters. There's lots of useful content in these, and that can be helpful for you as you decide which chapter to write 3 takeaways for, what chapter to journal annotate, all that stuff. So don't just skip over these. They have some helpful stuff for you guys. But your assignments are here at the bottom of your module page. So after introducing yourself to your classmates, your first module 1 assignment is this discussion of these introductory chapters. And when you click into there, there's more explanation. Your second, content-based module 1 assignment is to describe 3 takeaways. And then your final thing is that you'll annotate a journal article. And when you click into here, there's a video that tells you how to use the King Library database to find an article. So there's all the resources that you could need once you click into each of these assignments. In this class, we will be building towards kind of a bigger paper, and we'll do that in steps. We're not starting this week. But this section here will just tell you about the upcoming phases to our long-term, I have to use air quotes there because it's a 5-week course, so I guess long is relative, but our ongoing project that we'll have in this class. And again, that'll be in 3 phases, and this kind of tells you about that. If there are any questions that you have, or you see a typo in something in our online class, you can post to this discussion board so that can get changed for future students. So if you spot a mistake, please let me know. That's a quick, well, not so quick, but that's an overview of me and of our course, and especially of Module 1 and how Module 1 has changed to account for our issues with Blackboard. If you have any questions about this course or what you need to complete this week, please email me. You can try my office, but I work from home, as you can see, often. So I'm best through email, and my email address is agsloan@king.edu, and I'll post that email address when I post this video. So welcome to the course. I'm looking forward to seeing your minds work through communication theory and apply it. It is fun and it is useful, so don't be intimidated by theory. Just think of theory as something that explains, predicts, or controls our world, and that can be useful. So welcome. Looking forward to this class. Bye all.